Even though I was never interested in reading a sequel to Stephen King's classic horror, The Shining, for me the story was pretty much contained. I picked this up out of a small desire to find out what the master of the macabre had come up with for Danny Torrance after all these years. Simply put, I wish King had left this one in the back of his mind, just like Danny does to the haunting memories of the Overlook. My problems with this book are many, and they start with the whole aspect of The Shining itself. Unfortunately, King kind of goes full George Lucas here and basically makes The Shining like The Force. What I found so creepy in The Shining is that the powers that Danny possesses are really more of a curse. They make him a target for the nasty dead souls that want to absorb his shining strength in order to give them life and more power to terrorize the living. In Dr. Sleep, this aspect is downplayed in favor of making Danny and the little girl Abra like superheroes. They have telekinesis, they can interact over thousands of miles in a sort of mental internet, and they can even jump inside one another's bodies. They can manipulate others to their will and read other people's minds. They are pretty much Jedis, and just like in Star Wars, they are up against the Sith version of those with the Shining ability, the True Knot. The True Knot are a tribe of RV-driving nomads who go from town to town seeking children and others with Shining ability so they can feed off of them. And they do this by making them suffer before killing them, which somehow releases steam, which the True Knot captures in bottles for use. So the Shining is now something quantifiable and measurable, as opposed to a supernatural intangible. Yup, King actually makes the midichlorian mistake Lucas makes in the Star Wars sequels here. There's even a family connection, which I won't spoil here, except to say it was ridiculous and inconsequential. The Shining revisionism and Star Wars similarity alone does not derail the book. But King insists on making the on-the-nose named Abra a Mary Sue. As Danny Torrance says in comparing their powers, "I'm a flashlight, she's a lighthouse." I hate to go back to Star Wars again, but Abra is basically like Rey, a superpowered young woman who is able to wield her Shining abilities with little practice. I mean, come on now. Compare her to Carrie, the main character in King's first published novel. She struggles over the course of that whole story to control and strengthen her powers until finally, after a cruel prank at the prom with the pig blood, she at last unleashes her full powers on everyone. Abra, on the other hand, never really develops her powers. There's no arc, no development, which means there's no drama. At no point was I concerned for her safety because I knew she was way more powerful than the villain Rose, the True Knot leader. It's the same problem writers have with Superman, I suppose, but it's not like King hasn't done it right in the past, using Carrie as a specific example. And then there's the True Knot itself, which came off as less scary and really just incompetent. Overall, this was less a horror tale than a sort of half-baked superhero origin story. The title itself is also misleading, as Dan Torrance, aka Dr. Sleep, is hardly the main character. Abra is. At least they want to share equal billing. If I had to guess, King didn't really want to write this, but he felt compelled to because he knew there were fans out there who wanted to know how Danny ended up after escaping his murderous alcoholic father. But even then, the book hardly goes into Danny except in the beginning. I expected a character study and instead got a kind of whimsical Disney reinterpretation of a very frightening novel.